Israel's military has said that it believes Iran's nuclear program has been set back years by the combined U.S. and Israeli attacks, but that it's too early to know for sure. If true, it would be another key defense goal achieved for Israel, which has also spent months weakening Iranian proxies in the region.
When Hamas, an Iranian proxy, launched its terror attack from Gaza on Israel on October 7th, the strategic objective appeared clear: ignite a regional multi-front conflict. Hamas leaders hope to overwhelm Israel by activating Iran's other proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthi rebels in Yemen, and militias in Syria, in coordinated action. But Iran, which said it was not informed of the timing, held back. There was no unified front or large-scale coordinated attacks on Israel. Hezbollah fired rockets, but that was the extent of its limited, cautious support. Meanwhile, Israel used airstrikes and ground operations to target those proxies one by one. After Hamas, Israel targeted Hezbollah leadership and its arsenal of missiles, leaving both militarily weakened, politically strained, and strategically exposed. After its so-called axis of resistance was degraded, Iran found itself next, caught by Israel with a weakened line of defense. 20 months after October 7th, Israel is now seen as having achieved a complete strategic reversal, leading many to question the Iranian regime's calculations. There are hopes that this could open the door to a reshaped Middle East where Israel can normalize relations within the region. But as long as the death toll from Israel's war in Gaza continues to rise, already exceeding 57,000 Palestinians, normalization seems a distant possibility.
Well, for more, I'm joined now by Sara Harmouch. She's a defense policy researcher and the CEO of H9 Defense. That's a defense and foreign policy consultancy. She joins us now from Washington, D.C. Sara, it's good to have you with us. The war with Israel, the ceasefire that followed, when you put all of that together, has it changed Iran's influence in the Middle East?
Thank you, Brent, for having me. And yes, for sure it did. Iran miscalculated its hand in the Middle East, which also led to its proxies being weakened. Its regional standing has been weakened, and also its nuclear program, if true, has been set back for years. And now it faces heightened internal pressure because of the disruption to the economy and the conflicts, which led to the heavy-handed approach by the regime on its descendants. So all of this now makes Iran look very regionally weakened, and its influence in the Middle East has been degraded and not been the same since decades ago.
Yeah, you mentioned Iran's proxies, these regional partners, proxy forces. It's interesting, they have remained on the sidelines during the conflict between Iran and Israel and the U.S. This time. Talk to me a little bit more about why that is the case. Is it because they wanted to, or is it because they had no choice but to do that?
Iran's over-relied on its proxies. It thought it could manage Israel's conflict by relying on Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen, and Hamas. After the October 7th attacks, we've seen Hamas degraded. We've also seen the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, which weakened Hezbollah's military and its leadership and constrained its actions. So Iran came into this fight thinking it would have its proxies by its side, but it didn't. And I think that goes back to the fact that they are weakened. The key paramilitary of their leaders have also been decapitated, which led to a lack of calculation and coordination regionally between all the proxies. And also now that the Houthis, which is Iran's newest proxy, has seen what the detriment was to Hezbollah and Hamas, and they're the newest proxy of Iran, they were not willing to go into the fight and risk losing what the other proxies have lost. So they've been constrained, and they decided to stand on the sidelines and rhetorically support Iran, but not be involved in the fight.
So what does this mean then for this axis of resistance? Has it been destroyed, or does it live on?
I think for the meantime, it definitely is destroyed. I think it's going to take a lot of time for Iran to rebuild itself. It's going to take a lot of time for the proxies to rebuild themselves. And also right now, each proxy faces its own regional and its own local issues, from the Lebanese government pushing on Hezbollah, from the Houthis trying not to lose control of what they have left in Yemen, and from Hamas trying to remain having some sort of influence in Gaza. So for the meantime, the axis of resistance is weakened, is destroyed, and Iran seemed to have now been left by itself fighting a fight it didn't want to go fighting alone.
I want to flesh that out a little bit. You say the axis of resistance is more of a strategic partnership of allies than a mere proxy relationship. Can you give us a sense of what characterizes this relationship?
So with Iran and its proxies, Iran offers support. It offers resources, it offers weapons and drone technology to all of its partners, from the Houthis to Hezbollah to Hamas. And it expects them to be able to support and align with Iran's missions. And they all share the same enemies and the same, not all of them share the same ideology, but at the same time, they are allowed some autonomy to focus on their local regional issues and local politics. The only difference is now that Iran has its proxies weakened and these partners have been degraded. When you have a more of a proxy type of relationship, you expect your proxy as a patron, as Iran, to follow you whatever you did. And in this case today, we saw that this is not what happened. Iran tried to get its proxies. It needed its proxies, or what it thought its proxies were, and it found itself left alone fighting Israel, because this shows you that as much as it is supporting them and it is giving them resources, the fact is they cared more about their own local issues. They've been degraded, they've been weakened, where they couldn't really follow what Iran wanted, to the point where Hezbollah did make a statement and say, we cannot join this war against Israel.
Yeah, somewhat of a proxy in name only, you could say. Sara Harmouch, it's good to have you on the show. We appreciate your time and your valuable insights. Excellent discussion. Thank you. Well, I want to bring in now Sara Bazoobandi. She is a research fellow at the German Institute for Global and Area Studies, and she joins us now from Cairo in Egypt. Sara, it's good to have you with us. Let's start with this televised speech by Iran's leader, the Ayatollah. What was he trying to do with this message?
Thanks for having me. I think it's very difficult at the moment for the Islamic Republic to maintain its domestic position and continue to project power. The only thing that is perhaps left at this point is to continue disseminating the same messaging and the same political positioning in terms of belittling the impact of this war against Iran in general, and specifically against Iran's nuclear program. Of course, Ayatollah Khamenei was in hiding for a very long time. People started making speculations in every aspect. Some speculated that he's left Iran. Some speculated that he may have been killed in some of the attacks by Israel. So it was a moment that he wanted to reassure everybody that he's still there, he's with us, he's still in control. And of course, he seems to have continued willingness to at least to continue for the moment with its rhetoric.
Well, his whereabouts are still unknown. I mean, we're assuming that he's still in Tehran, but the fact that we can't verify his whereabouts, what does that tell us? I mean, can we assume that possibly his health is also a problem?
Yes, at some point, I think during the war, found pieces of disseminated information through various local outlets, especially through social media, which was a major channel for disseminating political messaging during the war, that he is not emotionally and psychologically in a good shape, and he even handed some of the decision-making to the council run by the Revolutionary Guards. So overall, whether his physical or mental health is in danger, we don't know for sure. But one thing that we could be confident is that he is feeling serious threat after the very heavy-handed operations that Israel managed to conduct and eradicate and eliminate many of the senior rank of the IRGC, of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. So he is definitely concerned about his security, and that's one of the reasons that we still don't know his whereabouts.
We saw today, for example, the Iranian defense minister participating at a summit in China. What does that tell us? Is Iran perhaps not as isolated on the global stage as the U.S. and Israel like to portray it?
Iran definitely is not as isolated as the Western powers and Israel would like to portray it, because let's not forget that what ended this episode was quite clearly a mediation by the state of Qatar that was at the receiving end of Iranian attacks on the U.S. base there. So Iran has still a lot of connections and a lot of friends and supporters, especially amongst the Eastern powers, like, for example, through Shanghai Cooperation Organization. But ultimately, what is now very clear is that the major security crisis, both internationally and domestically for the Islamic Republic, doesn't come from its friends and allies in the East. In fact, it comes from elsewhere. It comes from the United States and the State of Israel. So ultimately, no matter how much friendship and alliance Iran manages to maintain elsewhere, the problem has to be solved through diplomatic, peaceful means with the United States and Israel.
Okay. Sara Bazoobandi from the German Institute for Global and Area Studies. Sara, we appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you.